This is my final presentation about my social media strategy, How to Create the Backpacking Trip of Your Dreams by Christa Macatee. First, I will discuss an overview of my social media strategy. So my niche was creating an informative website teaching people how to organize and follow through with the backpacking trip of their dreams. On the left-hand side of the page, you will see my website that I created using the program Wix. My target audience are young students coming out of either high school or university with a passion for traveling. My audience is interested in backpacking for an extended period of time and is looking to gain information on how to choose a destination and budget for a trip like that. My goals throughout this campaign, as someone who had never engaged with social media beyond a simple Facebook profile, was to write an engaging blog and market myself through Twitter to gain a following. So a few of the platforms that I engaged with throughout these 4 weeks were Wix, which is the program that I used to create my website and my blog, Twitter, which is what I used as my social media platform to follow and engage with my niche audience and other established travel bloggers, and I also used VideoScribe. I created a step-by-step video discussing some of the topics I had written about in my blog to engage my readers in a different way. My strategy for engaging my audience was through my blog. I wanted to create a step-by-step process that anyone could follow for their own trip, and then I also wanted to show how I utilized that process on my own trip to show how it works. So when researching other blogs, the ones that I enjoyed the most were those that engaged me into their trip and showed the steps that they took. I really enjoy reading about other travelers' experiences, so I wanted to incorporate that into my own blog. I did not want my blog to be solely text, so I also incorporated pictures from my travels and a video made in VideoScribe to engage my readers right away. Every entry that I made in my blog was also tweeted out on Twitter to gain awareness and engage my viewers. So the next section I will be discussing is the data that I collected throughout my 4-week social media campaign. We'll discuss how I gained followers on Twitter. So this was actually my first tweet for my social media strategy. And as you can see on the left-hand side of the page, I started this strategy with only 2 followers on Twitter, as this profile was solely created for this project. And on the bottom picture that you see there, the red arrow is pointing to the 30 followers that I collected over that 4-week period, and I made 16 posts throughout that time. So to discuss the views that I collected on my website, I created this blog solely for this project. So when I started this strategy, I had no views of my blog. And when I finished, I had almost 100 people visiting my site. I made 1 blog post each week under the page My Experience. I decided to extend my social media platform by 2 weeks as I really wanted to continue blogging after this project was finished. To discuss a couple of really valuable posts that I feel made a difference throughout my 4-week social media strategy. This was one of my favorite posts to make, as it walked my viewers through each location of my trip and also showed them an easy way to plan out a route of their own. The tweet I created linked to my website where they could view this map and manipulate it to zoom in and zoom out. They could also read a small note on what I did while I was there. So in the example that you can see on the left, I've chosen Salvador in Brazil. And what actually comes up when they click that red dot there is a little synopsis of what I did while I was there and something that maybe I really enjoyed. So this personalizes this post really, really well. In my blog post, I discussed the importance of choosing a few specific must-see places, which I have shown as yellow squares on this map. Then, once they arrive in the country of their choice, they just fill in a route connecting all of those must-see areas together. Another valuable post that I really enjoyed making was one that was actually created because of one of the module assignments. I created this video in VideoScribe, going over the key points of my blog. I added this video to my website so that my viewers could first listen to my blog and be intrigued to read on. I also tweeted this video out on Twitter to bring more people to my website. So I engaged with my community on social media by following them on Twitter, sharing and retweeting their content. I noticed that if I shared someone else's blog or tweet, they would often go to my page and retweet or share my content. Social media is an online community, and if you show interest in someone else's posts, they will pay attention to yours, especially if the content you are creating has a common goal. So the example that you see on the left here is showing me tweeting out a fellow backpacking blogger's budget advice. Throughout my social media project, @BackpackerBanter also liked and retweeted a couple of my posts. So it goes back and forth and creates a wonderful community online of people helping each other out. So did I meet my expectations for this social media strategy? The answer to the question would have to be yes. I came into this course with little to no experience on social media. I created my first Twitter account, my first website, my first video using VideoScribe, and I feel like I learned a lot about each of these tools. While I would have liked to gain more traction on Twitter, I feel that my website received a lot of views over a 4-week period, and most importantly, I engaged with my content and I created a blog that I thoroughly enjoyed making. So some of the outcomes of this 4-week strategy. My experience and comfort with social media prior to EDCI 338 was very low. The only social media platform that I engaged with was Facebook, and even that was pretty minimal. So my view towards social media has definitely changed. It has been an enjoyable experience growing a blog that interests me and seeing how it can gain traction online using social media strategies. What I learned throughout this 4-week social media strategy was how personal social media can be. In my case, I'm speaking specifically about Twitter. Before beginning this course, I viewed Twitter as a tool that people used, but as something that lacked that feeling of connection. Once I started sharing, retweeting, and following people on Twitter, I realized how engaging and personalized this platform is, and it really creates a community online that will engage with you if you let them. As I stated before, once I started engaging with other backpacking platforms, I immediately saw a response, and people started reaching out to me and contacting me via personal messages. I learned just how influential Twitter can be for someone in search of a community for their business or blog. And what I would change. So if I was to go and do this social media strategy again, I would make sure that I connected my niche audience on other platforms. Since I felt very new to the social media world, I did not want to get in over my head, and I wanted to focus on a couple key areas and do them well. However, next time I would access other platforms like Pinterest, Instagram, and more to engage with audiences all over these areas. If I had 2 pieces of advice for someone entering a social media strategy, I would first advise them to research their niche on each social media platform to see how others have successfully launched their campaign on these sites. That will help them to gain a strategy of how they will implement their niche on each of the sites. Had I done this prior to my social media strategy, I would have felt more comfortable accessing multiple social media platforms and possibly seen a larger growth for my niche online. My second piece of advice that I feel I actually encompassed pretty well throughout my strategy was creating something that you're super passionate about. Readers or listeners, they'll be able to tell whether you connect with this content on a deeper level. And if you do not show enthusiasm, they will find it in someone else. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed learning about my 4-week social media strategy.